Gotta talk right in the front of that mic or it doesn't work.
What's that?
Gotta talk right into the front of that mic.
Okay, we'll do. Okay, I'm going to start with read a part of a story called The Olfactory Inversion. Okay. It's called The Olfactory Inversion. A man's sense of smell is reversed, so fragrances smell like stenches and vice versa. His nose has dyslexia. To skip through a field of lilacs in early spring is equivalent to being tethered to a corpse during the high heat of summer. The aroma of freshly baked bread is like the effluvia from an army's combat boots after marching through swamps for several weeks without stopping. When the nose has dyslexia, the conventions of clean and dirty mutate amok. Nightmares of being dunked in vats of perfume become the norm. Social status disintegrates and intimacy with a skunk brings joy. The man burrows into remote dung heaps further and further away from the tyrannies of soap. When the nose has dyslexia, predictable roles of behavior are scrambled anew. Musk-entrenched supermen get stampeded by berserk fawns in heat. Germ-phobics fondle dung beetles, whom with freshly molested vigor do hind leg roll-ups of squeaky clean solid citizens. A prudish schoolmarm finds a hidden rabid snapping turtle in her soul after being bitten by rotten apples, given jaws by the teacher's pet gone astray. When the nose has dyslexia, rampant desire surpasses grandiose expectation. Eager vines of algae growing up from centuries of neglected teeth climb greedily towards the fortune of a fresh-breath heiress. Gooey Pollyannas wash their mouths out with soap before reciting mantras of bland nicety to contrite career criminals gnawing on clean conscience bunions jutting from angels' feet. Going to read more, or should I stop there?
No, finish, read more.
Okay. When the nose has dyslexia, sacred values of societal dust are sculpted into new poisons by the playful rogue nostril metastasizing. The outhouse leper becomes a vengeful king, skinning the pillars of communities, turning the hides into outhouse doormats. Blind peeping toms suddenly regain their sight, munching on outhouse doormat brittle, thus seeing and tasting time-honored models of proper conduct. I'm not going to read. That's all I'll read of the olfactory inversion. It goes on, but I believe I'll just read you a part of it. I'm going to read from another story. Okay, this is the title story. My book is The Conduit and Other Visionary Tales of Morphing, Whimsy. And Vincent Ches has a very, very brilliant introduction where I just want to say that he says about my work, moving in a straight line, sometimes in an arabesque, the stories progress nonetheless, and the writing stirs beauty at unlit depths, like echolocations that sound out shapes in the psyche we didn't know were there. Endlessly inventive, Gessner is not interested in the arbitrary thrill, rather he is out to inspire us to rethink our assumptions, to reframe our perspectives, to renew our ways of seeing. His writing is a funhouse mirror, distorting the empirical world in ways that paradoxically help us to see it better. That's by Vincent Ches. I'm going to read once again, a part of another story, which is the title story of the book. It's called The Conduit. A man who's been stabbed in the heart at the edge of a pipe crawls inside it to live with the wound. Moving down the windy concrete tunnel, listening to his arteries drain, he leaves a red carpet for the assailant's knife. Millennial scorpion stinging itself, drowning in cesspools of regeneration. Huge, wide, longer than all-seeing memory. The pipe sparkles with light, twinkling with blood hitting the cold air. From waning capillary to enlarged vein geysering woundward, the assailant has left the pipe as a memorial to his crime and victim, paying tribute with a spare part in lieu of tubes torn. The man builds a valve mid-pipe with sheets of dried blood to impede his death. In honor of the sacrificial kill, the ancestors of the victim and assailant line up in rows facing each other, linking pinkies in a Twilight Square dance. The ancestors defy the order of time, choosing dance partners from non-overlapping lifetimes, intimate, fleeting anachronisms linking pinkies across time, cosmic gene pools intermingling, remote trees of lineage intertwined, rumbling destinies crisscross antlers out of wedlock orphans. Catch milkweed motes of unknown forebears flying in the winds. A dance caller shouts from sunburnt ashes of police reports of the crime, interspersed with incantatory testimony of twisted fallen witnesses, silenced by the omniscient pipe. Swing your partner, pipe cave mission, trillion souls are finding fission, make the wound get real sore, the guilty conscience wants some more. Tinder pipe in a morning mist, starfish pinky make a fist. Aorta forms and diagrams, April light will make you scram, ventricle snow, dozy-do. The landscape surrounding the pipe hums with first and last breaths, repeating lives with relentless cicada buzz. First, last breaths twirling into a starfish, flaming with water-broken cradle splinters from ancestral childhoods converging. The man looks inward. The man looks inward, confronting each of his ancestors and his assailant's ancestors face to face. Torrents of ancestral ego dust scattering across the tangible world, vanishing down the pipe, warming the crawling man bleeding inward. Torrential eye contact with a trillion, causing an avalanche of accomplices to face the original wound. Square dancers passing through the man's body, slowing his crawl, making his path oblique. The random chaos of transpersonal memory erupting. Mulch piles full of oracle eternity spill swill of ego dust. Poop shoot parachute, somersault sleep, ventricle snow, dozy-do. Lightning striking the mass heartbeat of merged accomplices linked to the crime by the knife. At the mid-pipe valve, the man looks outward, torrential eye contact with a trillion, taking a panoramic sweep across the random chaos of transpersonal memory gone berserk. Kamikaze pilots get reborn in the lonesome candle flame on a baby's first birthday cake. Countries sacrificing their souls for honor get redeemed in a gallstone in the belly of a shark. The first opposable starfish thumb grips the first lollipop given to a boy by a barber after a first haircut. Hidden enemy remoras play Ring Around the Rosie, mocking the grieving relatives of the victim, getting dizzy, spinning on merry-go-rounds of petrified wood. A tangent of the crawling man recedes into a rural backwoods, seeing his 15-year-old hick grandmother wrestling with an old mossback snapping turtle of an unknown forebear. The fleeting crescent of a cross-generational affair waxes on the man's irises with lucidity. The faded, yellowed, crumpled Dear John letter written by the assailant's great-great-great-great-grandmother to the victim's great-great-great-great-great-grandson looms across his vision with the magnitude of a crucial turning point in history. The awkward, hesitant cadences of the Dear John letter intoning in the assailant's great-great-great-great-grandmother's ancient but girlish voice, reverberating throughout the pipe, rustling the mid-pipe valve. Ravenous packs of hyenas at the vanishing point at the end of the tunnel smell the pungent wound. seeing the man as ripe, vulnerable prey, but the intensity of the anachronistic, cross-generational broken affair scares the hyenas away. High-pitched screech of the assailant's great-great-great-great-grandmother's girlish voice echoing painfully in retreating hyena ears. That is all I will read of the Conduit. That's part of the Conduit. That's not the entire story. Is there time to read a little more? I haven't kept track of the time. Is there still time?
Sure.
Okay. Any requests? Any
Vanity.
vanity?
The one about the bald?
What's that, Randall?
Roundhouse of bald people.
Oh, yes.
The Zuberry.
All right. Well, I can't. Okay.
Zuberry.
All right. The Zubrary. Okay. This is the Zubrary. Beneath a multi-leveled library is a basement zoo where the writers of the books above are kept. The zoo has a honeycomb structure sectioned off by narrow hallways running between circular rows of cells filled with a diverse collection of writers. The zoo has an optimum crossbreeding design. Writers of different type, ability, and degree of stature are paired up in opposite cells with facing bars so they can view only each other. Parking ticket scribblers face classical versifiers. Subpoena makers face street poets to produce spontaneous legal writs. Seminal inventives face shop-worn derivatives to make an accessible would-be radical with a pioneering gloss. The forgotten face the immortal. The touted face the neglected. The Baroque long-winded face terse aphorists. Scholarly treatise writers face gossip columnists to make high pulp crops of academic sensation. A zoo breeder wanders through the maze of hallways, listening to the congress of burgeoning tete-a-tetes, caught up in an infectious meld of snowballing ideas. The drone of voices reverberates, causing the caked stratum of upper floor tome dust to shift ever so slightly. Snatches of conversation overheard by diagonally opposite cell occupants are stolen by a web of intersecting plagiarism spreading throughout the honeycomb. Jewel kernels lost in the generic stew of blended voices are fished out by the zoo breeder and developed in the throes of invention while the idle plot to break through the ceilings of their cells, invading the upper floors to rewrite the books of their neighbors. At the center of the honeycomb is an incubator where the pairs of the most promising writers, chosen by the zoo breeder, are placed to mate and give birth. When the babies are born, the parents are returned to their cells. The zoo breeder raises the children like a pedantic wet nurse, bringing them to the upper floors for the daily rigors of learning and tome dust castle building, returning them to the incubator where they work themselves up into the prime white heat of prodigyhood, producing seminal works for all posterity to feed off of. The slow runts who fail to make their mark early are culled from the revolutionary litter and doomed to wither in a feral state beyond the Zubrary walls. When the fresh crop of genius comes of age, they are placed in their own cells, opposite those of a different type, ability, and stature. The writers are rotated in their cells each time a new generation is added, so new pairs constantly face each other. The inept and barren are weeded out to make room for the new. The promise of future progeny, born of fresh pairings, keeps evolution inching forward. As the zoo breeder puts the works of the new generation on the upper floor shelves, he looks out a window watching the culled orphan of a gossip columnist, classical scholar mismatch who roams the Zubrary grounds waiting to be let in. That's the Zubrary. Okay, is there time for one more? Or? No? I don't keep track of the time.
Always.
Always, okay. Okay, this is a short, I'm going to read it once again, part of a story, most of it, maybe 75%. This is called The Sleepwalker. Across frozen puddles, a sleepwalker glides on one foot, fitted by prankish hands with an old rusty ice skate. Nodding, bending, pirouetting in the cold wind, with fluid-precise ballet, opaque eye slits, blind to an inky tutu fungus of old newspapers encircling his waist, flaking into yellow dust with each thrust and turn. Migratory birds flying to warm childhood memory rest on the stubbly promontory of his lower jaw. Stratospheric tooth fairies play sky dominoes with long-fallen baby teeth. Oyster-shucking insomniacs about to crack open the sleepwalker to drink his pearly nectar to go to sleep get stuck reading the ruse of brittle tutu newsprint. Trauma of old news increasing their insomnia 1,000-fold. Ruffians without thumbs opposable, unable to grasp him, freeze into thwarted bully icicles, shattering in the random path of the nimble thrusting ice skate. Fragrant morning squirrels, mistaking the sleepwalker for an acorn. Try to bury him in the permafrost, but he breaks free. Marzipan Amazons and electric skates do figure eights, jolting him with 10,000 volts of neon pink candy flings, stampeding buffalo deep in the sleepwalker's burnt sienna beard stubble, inhibit smitten Amazons from tempting him to shave, thus saving the buffalo from extinction. Sycophants oozing flattery about skating finesse fail to impress the sleepwalker. Sycophants in their own hot air, melting into high affectation lemonade sold to pompous dignitaries in danger of turning humble. Lone sharks eaten by polar bears, dwelling in the carnivore's liver, try to telepathically poison the sleepwalker with vitamin A toxicity. Porcupine quills from Polaris shooting from the sleepwalker's coccyx bone, skewering lone shark telepathists vertically in the Arctic ice. Across frozen puddles, rising into glaciers, the sleepwalker glides on one foot, impervious to malignant intent. Ugly laughter of all who tried to scar him, twisting into coddling nursemaid lullabies. Nimble rusty ice skate glittering with an aurora borealis of prankish blue fingerprints, flaking trails of yellow tutu fungi dust, blowing in the wind, attracting intrepid wolves. That is the sleepwalker. I guess that's all I'm going to read. What's that? I think I read enough. If you want me to read something else, that's enough. Okay, thank you.